Hello. Welcome to Class 1 of Samson in Depth in the Book of Judges. I am your host, Rabbi David Katz. We are about to introduce the class. This is Class 1, as I just said. We had a little bit of a, what do you call that in sports in the preseason? We had a preseason drill session to get acquainted, those that showed up for preseason workouts. And Eric Bryan, God willing, will bring us into focus of where we're headed in this class based on the preseason workouts. It's a good place we got to. We didn't really go far. We just kind of kicked up enough dirt to figure out what we're going to be doing. So you didn't miss anything. And I would say now we're highly focused. So for those joining us either here live or in recording, you're going to experience, I think, a pretty focused class based on what we accomplished. So Eric, go ahead and just kind of, I'm gonna wrap with you. So if I interject and jump on your toes, it's just because I might want to prove a point of something that we brought out. But otherwise, let's try to oscillate back and forth and give over within 5 minutes what we did. Go ahead.
Fair enough. So when I asked Rabbi Katz to teach the class, I had a lot of sort of unfocused ideas about why Samson was important. And the most obvious one was that it's a weird story. Everything about Samson is weird, especially when you put it up against the other stories that we're so familiar with. There's just something...
It's very Jonah-esque, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jonah's also, that's a hard one for people. I think those two stories are the hardest.
And the reason why I thought this one was so important is because, using the Jonah idea, the Jonah story is about when he's already mature. But Samson's story covers his entire life, literally before birth to death.
Right.
And it's so just strange. Everything from the revelation of who he's going to be to his mother, who isn't named, the whole thing, the angel.
It's actually kind of interesting, though, because Jonah, we learn about his life and birth, but by accident. He's the boy that Elijah brought back to life, which we say is Mashiach ben Yosef. And what did Jacob see in the tribe of Dan? Mashiach ben David. So we definitely see a tight correspondence between the two stories in that regard.
Right. So the main difference between them is, the story with Samson is spelled out in those 3 chapters. So anyway, I wanted to find out why was it weird? Because in that weirdness, that everybody sort of overlooks. I mean, think about it. Samson's just a strong guy in the Torah who was a judge. Nobody really looks in depth at it. And I think that awkwardness to the story is a flagpost that there's some deep wisdom here. That's
you
why
said the words in depth.
Yes.
The yeshiva, we're now a yeshiva. We're now in Beta Yeshiva. So those of you here, you know who you are. And one just popped in. Jacques, how you doing? This is not come sit with Rabbi Katz in the virtual yeshiva anymore, even though it is. I mean, we're gonna always learn articulation of what we're doing as we go. Just kind of realizing what it is in terms of the words, not actually figuring out what we're doing. I know what I'm doing, but we're going to become aware and conscious of the thing. And kind of 1A on my yeshiva, how would you call it? Identity list of what is the identity of the yeshiva is learning in depth. For those of you that come to Mishlei, you know what that is. I don't know if this is going to be a 5-year course like Mishlei or a 20-year course like Mishlei, because we're designing these classes to fulfill a mission. We're not – Mishlei is just kind of like God willing, finish Mishlei in 100 years from now, for the sake of not finishing it. Here, where we want to target like a mission to accomplish whatever the mission is. So as Eric's saying, he brought down a mission to understand certain things, and I'm saying that mission can only be accomplished through the skills, and they are skills. You cannot just randomly guess these things. It's a high craftsman skill to learn in depth and to learn how to analyze text, which again, my Mishlei class, I think, does that very well. But the Mishlei class is meant to be freestyle because we're using English, and that's what makes it freestyle. Here, we're doing Torah study, which Mishlei is more of a wisdom study. They're both with their merit. So I want to just kind of cut to the chase and discuss what a main focus, if not the focus, is going to be. I don't mean to cut you off, Eric, but I want to say this. Eric had in mind certain verses, and just kind of get you guys caught up on what the process was. You might want to write that word down, process. It's an important word. It's not an Iker word. It's just an important word. Because the yeshiva, again, maybe on a 1A rating scale, is teaching you how to process. You guys with me? 1 or 2. You got to learn the process. It's maybe more important than the content. Because the content is created to process you, to put you in process. Samson is a formula that you're going to run. So it's a process. And Eric had kind of figured out by whatever process he was running the verses to try to figure out what's going on with the angel in chapter 13. So everyone that has their books, you should be opened up to chapter 13. And again, we're speaking general here. You're not supposed to know what's going on because I don't know what's going on. So you can't know what's going on. I'm reporting to you as it was reported to me. No one knew what was going on. What do we call that in Mishlei class? Anyone know? What is this called in Mishlei? Let's go.
Embrace the fog.
Embrace the fog. I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything right now. You understand the difference here? The goal is to not know. And if Eric comes to class thinking he knows, my job is to make him believe he doesn't know. And that's exactly what I did. I got him to stop knowing. So when I say, we treat it like, hey, come on in, Eric, and tell me what we're going to do. Well, Rabbi Katz, we're going to learn all about the angel and the mazel of the angel going into Samson. Oh, well, that's good. What angel? Right? Because all of a sudden, I forget what verse it was, like 18, 19, 16, whatever it was. I mean, we all know the story. There was an angel. Okay, good. That's all I know too. That there was an angel. But what's the biggest problem that we have with the angel? Can you guys tell me? I want dialogue here. What's the problem of the era coming in and saying, "Hey, we're going to go learn about the angel"? You all have a problem right now, but you're not telling me the problem. But you do have a problem. Articulate the problem. What is the problem? Let's go. Come on, guys. Type your problem. You should have a big problem. Exactly. Who, what, when, where, how, and why? Does everyone agree with that? It's a problem. You want me to tell you about the angel. And let's just say Eric told me that Samson's parents were speaking with the angel. Right? Type 1. We can vaguely remember that part of the story. But I'm going to give you guys a quiz. What was going on with the parents and the angel? Everyone should type a big 2. Very fast, you should type a 2. Because you don't know. And even if you think you know, I'll prove to you don't know. So embrace that fog. It's called taking control. Don't be attacked by a Moloch, Suffolk, doubt. You have no idea what's going on. You're being witchcrafted into thinking you do know what's going on. Because that's what they do in yeshivas. Hey, everyone know the angel? Oh, yeah. Samson's parents, they talked to an angel. That's right. Yeah. Uh-huh. And yet, meanwhile, if you don't really know what's going on, you're done. Now, the reason why Jewish school is better than Western school is because in Western school, they give you a syllabus the first day. Remember that? When they give you the syllabus, and you are expected to come to class. Eric, did you read chapter 13? Yes, Mr. Katz, I did. I did my homework. I am a top student in school. I'm not like the other kids who do not listen to the syllabus. And then the teacher says, hey, boys and girls, what was the name of Samson's dog? Does anybody know the name of Samson's dog? Eric? Spot. Yes, Eric, the name of Samson's dog was Spot. Good job, Eric. You are a good student. Thank you, Mr. Katz. And then the class will build all semester, and you'll get quizzes as such. You guys remember going to school like that? Does everybody remember that kind of school? And good luck arguing with me. You're not going to get very far if you argue with that teacher, are you? You raise your hand, Mr. Katz. Can we talk about Samson's parents? No. What are you, stupid? This is about Samson. I don't care about his parents. Some guy and some girl. We want to know about cool stuff like angels and Samson. So I can quiz you. What was the name of Samson's dog? And now you have a choice. Be quiet. Read the syllabus and just say what I want you to say. Answer what you think you want me to hear from you. Then you can tell everybody that you got certified in a Samson class with Rabbi Katz. You are a certified Samson scholar. You know all about Samson. But that's Western Greek thinking. What we're doing here is learning in depth. So the first question, after you embrace the fog, you want to hear something interesting here, Brian? What is the last word of chapter 12? I just find it halfway interesting. Last word of chapter 12. Anybody? No. The Amalekites. Ha'amalekei. Very apropos. Samson is beating up the Amalekites just by juxtaposition. Pretty interesting, I think. Doesn't mean anything overtly. It's just apropos to how I'm discussing this. Going into Samson, you got to embrace the fog because that's what's going on. I'm just looking at the language here. Hold on 1 second. So then going in, we're looking at Samson the angel. I like that word Amaleki. It's a very strong word. Let me just see 1 second. 140, 180, 255, 455, 462. The gematria doesn't work out. So the question we're going to ask ourselves, if the angel, this is where you challenge the teacher. Challenging the teacher is rule number 1 of yeshiva. Type 1. If you're not willing to challenge your teacher, you're probably not going to get very far. That may be actually the biggest 1A I ever tell you. You got this? Otherwise, you're never, ever, 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 ever going to get out of Kishuv, witchcraft. You must be willing to challenge your teacher. and get over yourselves that it's improper, it's rude, it's upsetting. If the teacher is not willing to be challenged, then I'm sorry, but I don't think you have a very good teacher. Now, there's challenge and there's being nudnik. You don't challenge. Well, how do we know the Torah is true? Okay, you're being a nudnik. The challenge is iron sharpens iron. You guys know that expression? Iron sharpens iron. And that's just like a constant rule of thumb. It's like in shechita, when you sharpen a slaughterer knife, it is an invalid blade if it has a nick in it. Exactly. You're supposed to look at the Hebrew word. Remember that. Always remember to look at the Hebrew. Get used to it. See, this is what I'm saying. This has to be a normal reaction and reflex from you guys. You don't have to necessarily know what you're reading, but train your eyeballs to go there. You understand? Because I'm there with you. I'll tell you what it says, but you need to give me that inch. Right? The last word is never in English. It's got to be in Hebrew, just by logical dictation. So the challenge is iron sharpens iron. So now, like I told you, the last word is ha'amaleki. Now, if there's a challenge there, challenge. If it's not a worthy challenge, don't waste the time. Now, don't ask me why there's a hey in front of ha'amaleki. It means the. At least l'fi pshuto for now. Because if you're going to challenge it, you better have a reason for the challenge. I.e., there better be some good fog that you're embracing. It's called a havamina. I would have thought. If you don't even have a havamina, but you get a havamina to make a havamina, that's not a havamina. I had to think to ask you a question. Well, pay attention. You see what I'm saying? You just gotta trust your instincts. And you'll know when you got a challenge. You'll know. You're just going to want to interrupt. Then interrupt. If you don't feel like it. And look, by the way, I'm going through this lesson as well. You guys know who I sit next to in shul every Saturday night? The chief rabbi of Israel. And he gives a lecture in the shul. You have no idea how bad I want to challenge the guy. You have no idea. I'm jumping out of my skin, and I have to tell myself, don't be an idiot. Don't challenge just to get airtime. You understand? And trust me, I really want to get airtime with this guy. Just for the sake of the give and take. But, I have to tell myself it's better to listen to him and make it a really good challenge only when the challenge arises. Remember, there's a value system here. Don't devalue your currency. You're given a currency. Make it count. A lot of people that complain in Torah, sometimes they have very good challenges, but they have already devalued their currency. Make your currency very strong. That way it has value and merit and weight. That's right. You got one bullet until you sufficiently reload. So now that we're embracing the fog, the question is, or the challenge. In fact, I don't even know if I want to give a challenge. The word is not challenge. Here's another vocabulary term to write down. And you're going to be writing down a lot of words. Even just to write it down. I don't expect you to know it, but you got to at least write it down. Get a notebook. Go out and buy a notebook and keep your lexicon. The more ordered and structured, like Aleph, Bet, Gimel, or ABC, you can do it, the better off you'll be. Why is that? Because the more work you create for yourself, the better off you'll be. I'm not making you do it. I don't really care if you do it or not. I'm just telling you the facts. The more work you create for yourself, the better off you'll be. It's just however you want to take that. But again, value, make it good work. You don't need to, do unnecessary work. The word for the challenge that we're saying here is actually kasha. Kasha. Everyone say it in your own space. Kasha. The spelling is kuf, shin, aleph. Or in English, Kasha. Kasha. A kasha is like a pressing challenge. Not just a question, but a challenge. Let's make a pretend case, okay? Let's pretend Samson was in Parshas Bereshis. Type 1. Type 1. Everyone type 1. And we're about to learn about Samson, and the word before Samson is Amaleki. What's the kasha? Who's got the kasha? Come on. Someone give me the kasha. Samson is in Parshas Bereshit. And the word before Samson is Ha'amaleki. What is the kasha? Ask the kasha. Or say the kasha. Exactly. Amalekites don't come about until the time of Esav. How in the world is there an Amalekite before there was an Amalekite? So if I say, hey, everybody, it's Samson and Bereshit. Wow, Samson's awesome. And I say, well, embrace the fog, Amalek. That's apropos. You would say, but Rabbi Katz, why are there Amalekites before there was Amalekites? Type 1. Everyone type 1. That would be a really great kasha. Do you think I just made that kasha up? Who thinks I just made that kasha up? Be honest. How can I think of such a stupid case? You guys have your chumash available? Get your chumash. If everyone has a chumash, get your chumash. Open up to Genesis. Go to our friend Abraham. Let's see if I can remember where it is. Hold on a second. If I have to get the concordancia, I will. You know what it is? It's I need the concordancia. Hold on a second. I need the concordancia. Amalek. Eliphaz 36. There we go. There it is. 14:7. Turn to Genesis 14:7. Genesis 14:7. Genesis 14:7. Genesis 14:7. Okay, what does it say? Eric, take the mic. 14:7. Genesis.
Okay. They turned their back and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh. They struck all the territory of the Amalekites and also the Amorites who dwell in Hazazon Tamar.
See that? It's pretty good kasha, isn't it?
It is.
Pretty good kasha. So I'll show you another one. Read Genesis 14:14. Go ahead.
And when Abram heard that his kinsman was taken captive, he armed his disciples who had been born in his house, 318, and he pursued them as far as Dan.
That's kind of apropos since we're talking about Samson.
It is.
How's there Dan before there was tribe of Dan?
Right.
Right?
Wow.
All right, so it's a pretty good kasha we ask, isn't it?
It is.
So pay attention to those things. So if you get that kind of kasha, you speak up and you say it. Now, ours, it was a fictitious kasha because we're in the book of Judges. Now, so the kasha that I'm asking, not even a kasha, more of a challenge. Challenge is just the English word challenge. We call it embrace the fog. How am I supposed to know about the angel unless I know who the angel talked to, i.e., Samson's parents? So what are you supposed to do? Anybody have a solution? This is called learning how to learn. Anyone have a solution? Solution, Justin B. There you go. You got to go back to the beginning. Oh, man. We got to go back to 13:1. Yeah, sorry about that, bro. We got to go all the way back to 13:1. All the way? All the way. We're not going to talk about the angel? Nah, we're not going to talk about the angel. Well, isn't that just a waste of time? No, it's not a waste of time. Because Torah is amazing. You got to believe that with Emunah B'tachon. You got to have B'tachon. Everything we're going to learn at all times is amazing if you want it to be. As Eric says, you give it that inch. Allow it to be amazing. You're the one saying it's not amazing. Well, I thought we were going to learn about the angel who said we're not. It just, it takes 6 months. Whatever it is you're doing, you got to be willing to wait 6 months. Now, we're going to get to the angel before 6 months. But my point is, if you're not willing to wait 6 months, what are you really doing? Because guess what? You will get through the 6 months. There's no such thing as I can't wait 6 months. You just gotta go through it. And if it really means something to you, you'll go 6 months. And every part of it will be a journey that is amazing. And what's the Kabbalistic Chiddush? If you had to wait 6 months, you weren't a vessel to receive it till 6 months anyways. Reuben's upset because he wants to play basketball. Well, when you're 2 feet tall, you're not playing basketball too quick. Just how it goes. You got to grow into the vessel. So this is what makes a wrestler a great wrestler. They understand they want to be wrestlers at like 4 years old. It's an amazing miracle. So by the time they're in high school, they're really wrestling. While I was on the floor watching Star Trek eating Doritos. Not too successful a wrestler. I didn't decide I wanted to be a wrestler until I was 35 years old. Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? So we go back to 13:1, and we started to learn about Samson's parents in the most practical way possible. So I want to let Eric go ahead and introduce this concept. Eric, tell us about 13.2. Because 13.1 didn't really tell us that much. We found a lot of light in 13.2. Everyone look at 13.2. Let's go. Open your books and read to yourself 13.2. Eric, read us through 13.2 in English.
Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. There was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danite, whose name was Manoah. His wife was barren and had not given birth.
Isn't that a pathetic verse, everybody? Is that not a pathetic verse? Type 1. Because you know you think it. Go ahead, embrace the fog. You can think it. If you want to tell me you don't think it, prove to me you think it's an amazing verse. Can anyone outside of Eric tell me why it's an amazing verse? And I'm being honest. Be honest. Can you look at that in the English and tell me it's an amazing verse? Anyone? Type 1 or 2. Nothing there, right? Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. Jacques, let's go. Nothing there. Now you all see nothing there, correct? Some guy, literally the language, some guy from a town called whatever, Zara, whatever, from the Danite family, the most irrelevant tribe in all of Israel, and his name was Manoah. Strange name, never met a guy named Manoah. And his wife was barren, like I need to know that, and had not given birth. All right, Eric, show the class, please, Bavakasha, how we are to turn this into something fantastic.
Okay. So what I was shown, as usual, is that the irrelevant words that we gloss over are really relevant. So the first thing is...
Wait, that's called Torah of Shem. Write
Yes.
that down. You need to write that down. You need to write that down. The words that we gloss over and do not ascribe anything, that is usually what will become the catalyst of Torah of Shem. You'll get the recording, God willing. So, Eric, what are the words that I don't care about? And you guys following along don't care about them either.
All right. So the first one is a short phrase that says a certain man.
Type 1 if you see the words a certain man. Type 1 if you see the words a certain man. Let's go. Hello. What are? Justin B. Let's go. Justin B., are you impressed? Are you impressed? I hope you type 2. No, not impressed. Not impressed. Loretta 1R, you impressed? A certain man? You're going to look right over that every time, correct? So Eric, enlighten us.
So a certain man is a very specific man. So those boring words are the beginning of an identity.
They are Iker terms. You guys know the word Iker terms? The Torah of Shem is made up of Iker terms. Iker terms. Now, this is a fantastic Chiddush, I'm going to tell you. Do you know why you guys fall victim to the Torah of Shem and you don't see Iker terms? You guys know why? Because you do not have knowledge of the Iker terms. And this is a universal problem. Every Jew on the planet, all the more so everybody on the planet, does not know Iker terms. Why? Because it doesn't teach you how to put your right shoe on first, so to speak. If you want to learn how to put your right shoe on first, this is not the yeshiva for you. There are plenty of great rabbis that will teach you that. I applaud them. They're wonderful people. I'm here to teach you Iker terms. I go around and I collect and learn Iker terms. It's like on Halloween, every kid wants Reese's Pieces. I want the guy who gives you the toothbrush and toothpaste because I'm just kind of quirky like that. For him to say it's a quirk, but it's the quirk. It's really the pun intended, Iker learning. It's the real McCoy of learning. Because there's something in Hebrew, or you're calling it in English, a certain man. So you just don't have the repetition to identify a certain man. If you would pay attention to the whole Tanakh, you would realize when the Navi, the prophet, says a certain man, your antenna would go crazy saying, we got to pay attention. You know who the master of Iker terms was of all time? Any guesses? One man in history was the master. No, it's not Shem. Moshe Rabbeinu. This is why Moses wrote the Torah. Imagine that Moses knew literally, he was like, what do you call that? Not a fanatic, but like, what do you call that? Not a fanatic. I guess an expert, possessed, or expert of Iker terms. He knew every Iker because he set out to know every Iker. So you could know every Iker too, but you fill your brain with things that are not necessary. That's why you're not Moses. Not to say better or less, you're just different than Moses. Moses set out to learn every Iker, which is the body of work called the Torah of Shem. Shem brought it down, brought the wisdom down. Moses learned every Iker. One man? Okay. There's one man. That'll work. That's actually more specific to the Hebrew. So that's Moses. When you start to learn Iker terms, you start to appreciate Moses' wisdom. You start to realize what my little expression I like to say. There was no such thing as Moshe Rabbeinu. There was Moshe Navienu. He was not our rabbi. He was our prophet. Now you see why. I mean, I'm just looking at the words here on our page. And I saw something very nice in the Zohar last night. The Torah was not given to Israel. You guys believe that? The Torah was not given to Israel. Do you believe that? Does anyone believe that? No one believes it? It's true. So do you know what was given to Israel, Justin B., if not the Torah? How do you say Torah in Aramaic? And the word is oraisa. Oraita. Oraita is the continuation of Torah. The continuation of Torah. So it's the book of 5 books of Moses, and then its continuation through 24 books of Tanakh, through the Talmud, rabbinic writings. It constantly goes. So the Jewish people were given the power of writing the Torah for generations. Then it goes from Torah to Oraisa. You caught this, Justin B? Torah is just one book of the Oraisa. Moses wrote, semi-pun intended, the Iker book of the Oraisa. And that is the Torah, what we call the Torah. That's why it is the clearest prophecy out of all of it. Every book of the Oraisa is included in the Torah of Moses. You cop that? But Moses taught the prophets how to write Torah. So look on our page. I'm going to point out some Iker terms from the end of chapter 12. You with me? You guys want to hear some Iker terms from chapter 12? Bahar, on the mountain. How do you know that Bahar, on the mountain, is an Iker term? How do you know? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? How do we know? How many of you guys have heard of Parshas Bahar? How many of you have heard of Parshas Bahar? Go ahead and Google it. Parshat Bahar. B as in boy, E-H-A-R. So it's got to be an Iker term. And yeah, mountains are a big deal in Torah. How about the word in front of Bahar? Ephraim. One of the tribes, sons of Joseph. How many of you ever heard of Mashiach ben Yosef? Type 1. How many of you know that one of the nicknames of Mashiach ben Yosef is Mashiach ben Ephraim? Why? Because it's an Iker term. It's an Iker term. We already found the Amalekites, Amaleki. Here's another one. Chapter 13, verse 1. How many of you have ever heard of Bnei Yisrael? That's an Iker term. And by the way, what's the gematria of Bnei Yisrael? 603. What's the gematria of 603? Moshe Rabbeinu. Very interesting. Here's another one. If you look in chapter 12, verse 8. Eric, can you read for us the chapter 12, verse 8?
Okay. After him, Ibzan of Bethlehem judged Israel.
Who's Ibzan? Who's Ibzan the judge?
Appendix A, timeline 3.
Some judge named Ibzan? Who cares? Isn't that a who cares? Isn't that a Torah of Shem? Who cares? Type 1. That's a Torah of Shem. Who cares? Nobody cares. I'm telling you. Go on Facebook and say, who was Ibzan, the judge of Israel? 4 Messianics will say it's Jesus, if you're lucky. Want me to tell you who Ibzan was? 2 or 1? Anyone? How many of you guys have ever heard of Ruth? The book of Ruth. You guys ever hear Ruth? Boaz. Ruth's husband. Ibzan is Boaz. Ibzan is Boaz. Kind of matters now, doesn't it? Kind of matters now, doesn't it? So we see the Tanakh, the Torah of Moses, is 100% Iker terms. The only reason why you don't say they're all Iker terms is because you haven't learned them yet. And again, neither is anybody on planet Earth. But the potential's there. All right, there's a lot of words of shofet. The word shofet is everywhere here. Judge. If we were to look in the Mikros Gedolos of every spot of judge, we would gain a superconscious position of what really is a judge. Jacques, what is a judge? What was the job of the judge? I guarantee you, you don't know. Eric, what was a judge? I guarantee you, you don't know. Loretta 1R, what was a judge? I guarantee you, you don't know. Justin B, what was a judge? I guarantee you, you don't know. In fact, I'm going to go on record that there may be 10 guys on earth that would know what a judge is. Because nobody thinks to learn the Iker terms. Go on Facebook and type, what was a judge? Everybody will be an expert. Promise you. Everyone's an expert. And if we were to go and get a super conscious position, what we're not going to do, because I just don't want to right now, even though I should, we would know what a judge was. And it would be a chiddush. It would go against the party line. It would go against the grain. We would say it. They would call us liars, charlatans, confused, conflating terms, and we would be right in everything we said. Because we learned the Iker and not Lefim Shuto. The obvious answer. One who judges Israel is the obvious answer. One who judges Israel. Thank you. Thank you for your Lefim Shuto obvious answer. I know how to read the Art Scroll English. I'm not blind and stupid. But what I am is curious to know what is the Iker term shofet, judge. How many words are in the Torah? 600,000 or something, right? Like a lot of words. What do they say? Ger is one of those words. One. I personally have taken it upon myself to learn the Iker term ger on a super conscious position. And you see the madness that it's caused. There are imagine there's a lot of wisdom with ger. Would you guys agree with that? That ger has a lot of wisdom? Multiply it times 600,000. And then each word has a combination. Multiply that squared. All right, the wisdom is infinite. Anything you want to master, you can. And I promise you, anything you master, you are in a select fraternity of 10 men on the planet. No more. Because it's so vast. You're not going to find someone that's done it. It's not done. But it's available. Moses knew the Ikarim. It is possible. You just choose to not live like Moses. I could have been a great wrestler. Why was I not a great wrestler? I didn't choose to live like a great wrestler. And I try to convince myself I did. Then you watch what goes into being a great wrestler. You got to applaud those guys. It's not me. The ego can't win that war. I didn't come even a fraction close to what they do. All you can do is root them on in a couple weeks in Rio. Because if you think you're that, you're mistaken. But if you think that you cannot be that as you can, you're also mistaken. You can learn Iker. You have to really go out of your way to choose not to. So you're not going to be Moses knowing every Iker. But in Moses' Torah is the opportunity to learn as many Iker as you can. And you will be unique. Even possibly historically unique. It's up to you. You live 70 years in this world of real life. If you want to boil your Torah study down to one point, it's how much Iker do you want to live and absorb while you're alive? It's up to you. And you see the sad state of affairs that so few people learn Iker. They want to know how to be good Jews. And there's merit to that. Okay? There is merit to it. But again, choose your camp. If you want to learn how to put your right shoe on first, there's plenty of wonderful rabbis to go to. This yeshiva is an Iker yeshiva. If you ask me the halacha of how to put your right shoe on first, I'm going to learn it out according to the Iker. This is who I am. So that's what yeshiva is. At least the yeshiva that I know. It's if you're going to put your right shoe on first, know the wisdom of it. Rather than just robot, I'm supposed to put my right shoe on first. And this is my hashkafa. This is my philosophy. You don't have to prescribe to it. I'm not the only philosophy. I just happen to know that it's a very worthy philosophy. And it's not for everybody. Even though I think it can be, in the end of the day, people just want to know what to do. So now that we're familiar with the Iker words, and a certain man or one man went, do you guys now see how that can maybe be an Iker? Ish echad. Ish echad. The Iker is echad. How do you say big man in Hebrew? Adam gadol. Right? Adam gadol. Gadol is big. Adam is man. Big describes man. Yichap? Adam gadol. The second word reflects back on the first word. So we have ish, a man. How do we describe that man, Justin B? How is he described? Echad. Now you know the word echad is a powerful word. God is one. So if we're saying there's a man who is one, that's something to look into, isn't it? So let's start looking into it. We've got about 10 more minutes. Let's see here. Which one do I want to start you off with? I'll start you guys off with the English. Does anybody have a commentary in your book on this one man or whatever your English says? Anyone with a commentary in English? Eric? All right, hold on. You should have it. You should have a commentary stating about the one man. Justin B, do you have a microphone? I suggest you buy a microphone. All right, so I'll read mine just to give you an example. So this is
I have it.
Okay, go ahead. Hey, pay attention to the English words because in Mazel they're doing Iker and they don't even know it. So go ahead. Pay attention to Eric's English.
And there was one man. Manoah's wife was Hatzlaponi. I'm sorry, I butchered that. From the tribe of Judah. See 1 Chronicles 4:3. His name is constructed from, and then it lists the varied Hebrew characters, i.e., she acknowledged the angel. It's Yosef suggests that these Hebrew characters, which mean shadow, indicates an angel who is not permanent corporeal form as shadow. The angel came to make peace with her and her husband, whom she blamed for their childlessness. The angel informed her that she was the barren one. Therefore, she omitted mentioning this to her husband in verse 7. And it lists Bav Rabasa and Numbers Rabbah. Miam Loetz explains that he was called this because he was at times the recipient of divine prophecy. Therefore, Manoah knew that it was actually his wife who was barren. From Zorah, along the Sorek River. That's it. That's all I got on verse 2.
So you see how the English is trying to struggle to figure out, because the English doesn't know what an Iker term is.
Oh, wait, there's more. I had to turn the page.
Okay.
From the family of Danites, this term is used rather than tribe because not all of Dan lived in the vicinity of Zorah, inasmuch as a section of them lived north of Israel. Furthermore, only one of his parents was from Dan. Das Mikra answers that since Dan consisted of only one family, the terms family and tribe are used interchangeably. And his wife was barren and had not borne. This seeming redundancy actually tells us that she had borne no children prior to her becoming barren. Thus we may render, and his wife was barren and had not borne. Many of Israel's outstanding ancestors were born to barren women. Examples, Isaac, Jacob, Samuel. For just as their births were phenomenal, so were their lives. That's it.
So what the English is trying to say is there's something special going on, but it doesn't know why.
Right.
You guys see that?
Yes.
The English is trying to grapple with this concept of this guy. Now there's something called a hidden kasha. Write this one down. Kasha smuya. You can spell it however you want. It's kind of like a Talmudic term. Kasha smuya. Kasha smuya. What's the kasha smuya here? What's going on with this guy? It's kind of like a house of cards. I mean, the whole story built up of this guy based on what? But it's a kasha smuya only from the English. Because in English, you don't have Iker words. One guy went out. Okay, that's very nice. Some guy went out. Okay, that's wonderful. But Moshe Rabbeinu received the Oraisa. Remember that word, Justin B? Oraisa? So when a Jew who's in Torah, i.e. a rabbi, someone involved in the Hebrew language of Torah, comes across the word ish echad, that we know is a buzzword because the holy tongue is different than English. This is where the Christians really have no clue whatsoever. They're looking for putting an arrow in a tree and drawing the target around it. This is different. This is training yourself to be objective and locate the Iker terms. You'll find them everywhere. Yeah. And they're so unassuming, you're not going to, like I saw, Eric and I looked at a video today, Tovia Singer saying where is Hamashiach in the Tanakh? And of course the answer is nowhere. But better yet, you know why the real answer? This is where I get upset. You know why the real answer is why there's no Hamashiach in the Torah? Because that caller is trying to ask Tovia, where's the Iker of Mashiach in the Tanakh? Type 1. Or better yet, Rabbi Singer, what is the Iker term for Mashiach? And the answer is it doesn't exist. Because you're asking a vulgar question. You're asking from English. You have to ask the question in Hebrew. Don't put an arrow in a tree and draw a bullseye around it. then you can find Jesus anywhere. Anywhere. Just go call it what you want to call it. Make it up. This is why it's objective Torah rather than subjective. I mean, look, I'll make it up right here. Samson is Jesus the Messiah because the preceding word is the Amalekite. And what is one of the prophecies Mashiach will do? He takes out Amalek. And look, from the land of Ephraim, there it is. Jesus, Mashiach, and Yosef beats Amalek, and it's the tribe of Dan, and that's why Jacob saw Mashiach in the tribe of Dan. Give me a one on that, guys. We did it. We found HaMashiach in the Tanakh. So that's why you can't go in and claim Iker terms. You can only do the Iker by locating the Iker and finding out what it is. So if you want to find Mashiach, this is why rabbinic writings are so important. Because when it's a Mashiach inyan, then the Iker term in the rabbinic writings, which is Justin B. what? Part of Deraisa. Correct? Rabbinic writings are part of Deraisa. So the rabbinic writings will deal with developed Iker terms. Mashiach is an Iker term, but it's a rabbinic Iker term. Now, I'm not getting into what is stronger or lesser. Just understand that was not one of the Iker terms that Moshe wrote. But if we find a Mashiach inyan in the Chumash, which you only know is messianic because you located the proper Iker, and it turns out there's a lot of Mashiach in the Chumash, you just got to know the Iker. For example, Samson, the tribe of Dan, the blessing from Yaakov, is a messianic inyan in the Torah. But it's not Mashiach. It's messianic. When you get into the literature about Mashiach redemption, it becomes a character called Sarya ben Dan. How many of you guys have ever heard of Sarya ben Dan? The one who helps Mashiach ben Ephraim take out Armalus, the leader of the Erev Rav. Yeah, not exactly common. What it is that's rabbinic Iker wisdom. And that's part of Deraisa. You got to follow the extensions through the generations of writings. So Samson, the commentaries, the Kabbalistic side, which the Zohar goes into. Then the Vilna Gaon picks up where the Zohar left off. So there is a Messiah. There is a Mashiach time. But it's part of what, Justin B? Deraisa, and not just Torah. You cop that? Deraisa and not Torah. Meaning you have to take the Iker and its refinement through thousands of years rather than putting a square, what is it called? A circle and a square peg, whatever it's called, right? However that idiom goes. So you source it, let's say with Samson, the Masari ben Dan issue, but you got to follow it through rabbinic writings. Because the rabbinic writings are dealing with developed Iker terms. How do you understand Ger Torah? Because the rabbinic writings on Ger are Iker terms. Otherwise, Ger is convert. Just like you can put Jesus in the Torah. It's a fallacy. It's the same thing about the counter missionaries. They say Jesus is not in the Torah. I say, how do you even answer that? Just don't bring Jesus into it. The Torah never said Jesus wasn't in the Torah. You're just the one who invented Jesus and put him in there. I can say the Torah wasn't talking about Mickey Mouse either. You know that? There's a messianic group of Mickey Mouse people. And I proved that the Torah was not talking about Mickey Mouse. Do you cop what I'm telling you? You cannot say that the Torah is not talking about Yeshu. It's an irrelevant moot point. I have better luck saying the Torah was not talking about Mickey Mouse. You want to know what the Torah was talking about? Anyone want to know? The Torah was talking about what the Torah was talking about. Makes sense, doesn't it? What does the Torah talk about? The Torah talks about what the Torah talks about. You would say in Yeshivish, what is your Havamina to think it's talking about Yeshu? What is your Havamina, I would have thought, to think it's talking about Mashiach? Why would you think it's talking about Mashiach? Because you want it to talk about Mashiach. Find the Iker term and you'll realize what the Torah is talking about. You're not Moses to know the Iker terms and write the Torah of Iker terms. God entrusted Moses to do it because God gave Moses the Iker terms. Why? Because Moses wasn't looking for Mashiach in every single Iker term. There's millions and billions, to quote Donald Trump, billions and billions of Iker terms. Mashiach is one type of Iker, but it's not even like an explicit Iker, because the time period of Mashiach is the Iker, not the man himself. That's why there is no Mashiach in the Torah. You're not going to find Jesus in an Iker. What you find is a messianic time period. Then you go and learn the Ikarim, plural for Iker, of the messianic end, and you'll find that the rabbinic literature about Mashiach made up of a bunch more of Ikers. You just keep refining and finding Iker. And so you can start working with Iker. The book Kol HaTorah that I'm translating, it is all about how to work with the Iker. You see how Torah thinking is different, radically different than Western thinking? That's why they really shouldn't be debated by the anti-missionary, counter-missionary people. It really is a fruitless endeavor. I really think you would have more success arguing Mickey Mouse was not in the Torah than Jesus. It would make more sense. It just makes no sense. You know, who can win, Batman or Superman? I mean, dumb argument. It just doesn't exist. I would rather argue, can Mickey Mouse beat up Batman? That's more interesting to me, more authentic Torah than Superman and Batman. Why? Because it's a chiddush. I don't know. I never thought about Mickey Mouse and Batman. It begs the question, what is the Iker of Mickey Mouse? All right. We're going to go ahead and stop there for today. Eric or whoever, remind me, next class, we are going to start investigating Ish Echad. Ish Echad in the commentaries. Just to get people inside and remind me also that we are to get the class ready next week so that we eventually go to Rachav, wife of Joshua, for the sake of her relationship and producing Pinchas's legacy. Thank you for listening. Be well.